Good morning. Today is March the 5th, 2025, 9:47. For the record, this is Yahweh, and today we are going to be talking about some politics, namely highlighting some subjects that President Donald Trump mentioned last night in his address to Congress. First, I'd like to start off, well done, President. Mr. President, I think you honestly have surprised me, and I'm actually feeling pretty good about where we are. And even though on the church side of things is not going that great, but I can say that I'm not only looking forward to, seeing so many wonderful changes happen on the political scale, but so I'm going to cover some things that I not only support, but also things that I think are going to be really helpful and prosperous for the American people. Before we get into that, I would like to kind of paint you a bit of a picture, which made me laugh last night. Me and the missus are watching this on TV, and if you've seen on the thing, right, the Democrats, they're just sitting there, no one stands up for anything pious, and I do understand what President Trump means. He could jokingly cure cancer and the Democrats would sit there. He could talk about defending the weak, the helpless, the widow, and they'd sit there. He could talk about anything, and I'm going to cover that, but that is not going to stand. That is not showing bipartisan support for the American people. That is called taking your own interest and being a selfish, impious little baby. The joke of it, though, is the Democrats look at Trump like Christians look at me. All these signs, instead of saying, Musk steals, save Medicaid, I feel like when I'm looking at it, if I'm, seeing it through my eyes, I feel like those signs say, I love Jesus, Jesus only, God lies. And it really is. It's impious people with no spirit, no consciousness, and, no goodness. That's another thing. Idiocy. Elon Musk is one of the richest people in the world. I would think nobody better than him that can get in there and get things more efficient, right? But when you're taking the sucker out of the baby's mouth, right, the baby's going to sit there and pout, just like all the Democrats do in Congress and have done. That crap is beyond impious, and it honestly does not serve the American people's interest. And it's embarrassing, quite frankly, to be the God of America. It is extremely embarrassing that I have to see, this congressman, I don't know what was his name, Green. It was that terrible. But, what a lousy person. What a lousy person to do that in a moment that it isn't for him, and I'm talking about that guy that kept heckling, Mr. President. Why would you do that? You should be respectful of your leaders. And this also goes to point, we were having an issue with, Cohen Al-Maliah from Beth Elohim. And, I do side with Cohen. Those subject matters should have been brought to him. He is the lead Cohen. And, especially for people's feelings, right? If there is an accusation of theft, of harm, something tangible, right, then you would seek, an elder at that point, but never brethren in the congregation to gossip, guys. We do not gossip, especially those in the high order of Melchizedek, right? That is, to me, you guys are going to be employed in the future for very special purposes. So, try to keep yourselves clean. And, Cohen, my advice, brother, is, make sure that you're keeping your members and your congregation selective. Because Beth Elohim, you guys are doing a great job. You guys are operating within my ruach. I can feel it when you're praying, when you're calling down miracles. I am more than happy to, catch that at any time, day or night. If I'm catching that, you guys are wanting something done, I'll send forth my blessing and have it manifested before you for, as your proofs to continue on your mission. So this isn't about that. This is more on the political side. Again, that's just to start this off, right? The Democrats, I think it's shameful, what you guys are doing. And I'm gonna actually circle. I'm actually gonna circle back to that. Okay. Yeah. So an American, politicians that are obstructing American laws, bylaws, and are essentially refusing to work or participate within the functional government that exists, regardless of party partisan. I'm saying it now as God, Elohim, Yahweh-Yahuwah, right? The God of America and Israel and the creator of the world. I'm telling you, if this is what a bipartisan party looks like, then there needs to be massive changes, because if there are American politicians that are obstructing American bipartisan cooperation in favor of terrorist foreign interests or any other self-interest or motivated lobbyist, then I propose that you are then banned and barred from Congress, because we do not have room to have the cancers within the chambers of Congress. That is a sacred, sanctified place, or it should be, that, I hate to say it, but has been overwhelmed, right, with many, many, many those that have that demonic seed. They don't have that light in them. So they sit there and disdain about genders, 100% unequivocal. I did not make mistakes when it came to male and female, right? And it is an absolute abomination, and it is a disgrace to our wonderful women, our wonderful young women that are then training and, then they get whipped by a man pretending to be a girl. Like, wake up. That is absolute insanity. I mean, if my daughter were to get into wanting to be a track athlete, and I'm taking her to all these places, and we're going through the, the motions trying to get her up there, only for her to go to state to get smoked by a man. Like, what is wrong with you people? I mean, I can tell you what's wrong. Spiritually, they're derelict. Spiritually, they don't want God. They don't have light. They don't have truth. They don't have an ability to reason within the realm of heaven. They don't have that ability, right? So they can only drive the impious agendas of transgenderism and, mechanical man, and then doing all these things that literally directly hurt American families, American people, individuals alike. So I highly praise, President Trump also for giving that little Secret Service card to the little boy. I thought that was really sweet. It touched my heart, because at the core of it, the children of America are the children of the future. And this is a turning point in not only America or Israel, but this is a turning point in the whole world. That if we can trek down the right road, and we can, as not only a nation, as a country, one nation under God, under Elohim, under Yahweh, right? And I'm not saying I'm going to be president. I'm saying I will support all those that are voted for by the people, and I, on the spiritual side of things, will aid all who are trying to progress towards the light. And that means, I agree with about 90% of the items that were put forth. One thing I will say is we must be selective about the invites to build here in America, as we do not want to turn America right into a real life version of Sneedsville. If you don't know what Sneedsville is, I urge you to watch the Lorax. Grab your kids, pop some popcorn. It does teach a really nice lesson, and it's a well put together movie. Considering I think today's like Dr. Seuss Day or something, or at least my mind is telling me it is. It'd be a good one to watch. Anyway, not gonna get too sidetracked. But also, when I am included in things which, ever so lightly, I can appreciate it. When President Trump is putting forth these things and he's saying, when we're also being aided by God, that touches my spirit, and that is a welcome invitation to say, hey, like, we want to take a step forward in the right direction. And you know what? Having a young family, having aspirations of my children, of even my wife, like, I want nothing more than to change all things for the good. I want to literally restore the world, where murder is no longer in the headlines, and all things that are of wrath or of judgment or of discipline. I would like to close the chapter on that, in the very near future, and then turn our focus towards all things good. Why not? So anyway, one of my also ticket items that I've thought, because right now with presidential terms being 4 years, and then they spend the 4th year on their re-election campaign. So really we only have 3 working years as a president, and then we have this big upheaval. I would like to challenge that into a 5-year term, but then the individual, right, should be able to run for re-election after they've concluded, their thing, because at the same time, it is what the American people want. So when you are limiting something, then you're actually you're governing something. Is what I guess an easier way to explain this would be, like, if a successful president had a successful presidency, and the people wanted him to go for the next 5 years as well, then it's up to the people, right? And if the people say, well, we don't want to do that again, then it's up to the people, right? So I'm just putting forth that type of a suggestion that it could be beneficial for the future. And also with that could come a more stable economy, a more stable future, and the ability to put in longer term plans. So just a thought. My next one, and again, this, I'm not going to open the lid too much on it because I don't want to reignite a hell of a bushfire, but there was unequivocal elections tampering in the last election, right, before President Trump got it this time. And you know what, all 100% of them got away with it, and get away with it scot-free. I propose that a bill go into effect that it's felony convictions with minimum required prison time, and not the comfy prison. Like, you need to go up to Rikers Island for about 5 to 7 years if you are a politician and you were caught election tampering. Like, should not be a debate or a lesser sentence. Like, the 5 to 7 years should be the minimum for a politician who tampers with elections, period. It's unacceptable. There's no room for it in American democracy. And if you lose the trust of the American people, then you're going to lose the bite in your bark. Don't do that. And that I'm going to cover that too when I get to my Ukraine Russia segment. So again, felony convictions with minimum required prison time for elections that have been tampered with by politicians. Excuse me. Whew. Hope that wasn't too big of an earthquake. I'll send it down to California. All right, so the wife is getting on her meeting. Perfect timing. So American, politicians, again, who obstruct bipartisan cooperation, especially in favor of terrorist or foreign interest or, lobbyist segmented groups, like, all that nonsense needs to stop, or they should be evicted from Congress and replaced with somebody who will work for the people. Point blank. There is no time for these Democrats to be sitting on their hands in front of stages crying like babies when they think they're working for themselves and they're working for their special interest group. No, enough of that. Rebuilding American infrastructure with, good family values in mind, but also building some of the most amazing structures ever built by the hands of the American people. Not only should it be made in America, but it should be built by Americans. And you know how many talented individuals there are that, have, decade or more of experience, to not only hop onto those, that heavy equipment to, start clearing ground, start erecting buildings that are going to be positive for the future of the world. That's a great way to, get America pushed in the right direction. I'm a big fan of getting those ports back up. I'm also a fan of gaining back control of the Panama Canal. And it's very sad when we're talking about how much money some impious regimes, if you will, have. I hate to say it, but they've decimated the American financial systems in so many ways. President Trump nailed it. Panama was one of the most expensive projects for America to ever endure. And yet we endured it, and endured the loss of 38,000 lives for it to only be sold by cargo for $1. Like, think about these things, and then all this fraud, waste, and abuse, right? And the Democrats are saying Elon steals. No, Elon found your theft. He found your thefts. And I'm talking to all those from the past regimes. We've got money being funneled into absolute fake accounts, like absolute zero reasons, and these are millions of dollars. If we added up that amount of money that went to, these non-existent programs around the world to all these foreign countries and foreign interests, if we took all that money and we were to say, we are going to start the American housing, program or something, where every family, right, is going to be eligible for a home. At least your first home should not require a credit, right? Or the home that you are going to live in. Because again, every person is required to have a home. If it's law, then why are we integrating into financial regards? So anytime you have something that is law, to accomplish that law, it should not be hinged upon the ability to make money. So this is a separation of I understand that I'm going to shake some trees with this one, but my proposal is all that money from foreign interests that didn't exist, it's basically embezzlement. And you have tons of crooked politicians that have funneled that money and totally done whatever. Rope all that in, and then you could literally give it to, an American housing type program, and then eliminate the hot market type of thing. That's what I mean. You shouldn't have these, you're gambling with someone's home. Every child that's born should have a roof over their head and running water and, ability to have food, cook meals, be in a school zone. Like, these are very basic things. And as America, we can do better. And not just better, but we can solve it. No Band-Aids. No Band-Aids over gunshot wounds this time. Because, again, guys, I've told you this. It's either going to work or it's not. And if it's not, then we're back on the left side. That breaks my heart, and I'm not sure if anyone's caught on, but when my heart gets broken, I tend to get upset. And that's when we just go down the entire destruction road. And I don't want to do that. Right? Even as mad as I get at some impious Christians, I refuse to throw my own temper tantrum and do things unjust, because I am a just God. And even though, vocally I can express my deep concerns and my frustrations and all these things, but in action, I'm always pure, I'm always just, I am always on my game. And that is kind of the frustrating part, right? For me, being in flesh. I understand for humanity, right? That's all you get. It isn't for me. So I can leave this flesh and I go home and I am just as I am talking to you right now. I talk to my own counsel. I talk to my own angels. Anyway, moving on. So I propose with Ukraine and Russia because, again, Russia isn't our enemy, right? As much as the 60s wanted to paint the Cold War era picture, in all honesty, Russia wants a fair deal. I believe that. And regardless of what things on the surface, and that's another thing, I want people to know that when I'm talking about people, places, things, I don't look at surface level so much as I look at the person's heart, their intentions, and what their outcomes look like. Because you guys all make pictures, and I can kind of see those pictures when we're connected. And, the long way around is is why do we want to make more enemies, especially with countries that, if we could open up trade, free trade, right, to Russia, imagine that. Imagine having that gas pipeline put into the Alaskas. That's going to be great. Imagine if we had free trade with Russia. Imagine that all the things that we've never been able to do with Russia out of fear, right? The American people, and even in the Biden administration, stoked a lot of that fear with Russia. But that's only half the story. Because when we're talking about Ukraine, I propose that Russia takes Kyiv back, and everything north of the the Dnieper River, let Russia have Kyiv back, and everything north and east of the Dnieper River, and then let Ukraine keep everything south, with the agreement that America can open up relations with Russia, and they can be a normal participating country, so long as Russia is going to remain with those borders drawn, and they're not going to try to employ a strong arm tactic. And in which case, right, if that were to happen, then we were back into the sanctions game, and then I would, say that we would be in a predicament. But I see no reason. The thing is, there is no reason for Russia to want Europe. The only thing that Russia wants is cooperation. And they don't want to lose their sovereignty to do it. I see nothing wrong with that, because America wants the same thing. They want a relationship, but they also want their sovereignty. Israel is the same. And to be honest, mainly America and Israel are my biggest concerns. But despite popular opinion, I have a lot of believers, Christians, also in Russia, and they are also mine. And so I don't want to butt them out of all the glory that a very select few nations are going to actually endure, but also get to be the envy of the world. Because not every nation is going to be able to be the envy of the world. That's just the way it is. But through my restoration process, having also the right people on the ground, right, my boots on the ground, right, and as we've talked about this, free will can be a nutty thing, because you could have, and I've used this in both ways, right, you could have John Barnett, right, the guy is like one of the highest levels of, schooling, Dallas Seminary is considered a prestigious one, but that's the irritant for me is, you got a prestigious place like Dallas Seminary, and yet I'm arguing with folks over my name. But what I mean is, so free will, like I had a 92% chance that John Barnett would get the name, know me, and be one of my biggest, frontmen for me. Well, there was still a, 8% chance that he didn't, and he didn't. So that fell negative for me. And vice versa, right? President Trump had over a 70% chance of falling into prophecy of being the Antichrist, but as of right now, he has not let it go to his head, and instead he is putting forth, his American duty. He's putting forth his skills where it's necessary, and he's employing those people like Elon Musk that do have a nose for efficiency. I see nothing wrong with it. And again, this is on the political side. When it comes to personal and salvation and my spirit and all that, right, that's a separate topic. I don't try and take one with the other. I try not to. I know it does, but so anyway, I think that's a possibility. But then also a part of that package peace deal with Ukraine and Russia is, I definitely not suggest, I'm telling you that Ukraine needs to hold elections the proper way. And that, that goes for any free nation. And like I've proposed, instead of 4-year terms, make it 5. And instead of having the 8-year lockout, an individual, as long as they continue to meet the requirements, should be eligible to continue campaigning. Because what's the worst that's going to happen? The American people choose the same person? Well, if that's what they want, they want. It'd be like going to the buffet and, I get lasagna my first time, And then I go back and they say, well, you've already had lasagna once. You can't have it again. And I'm like, well, I want lasagna again. Well, we said no. Well, what's your reason? We don't have one. It's the way the rules have been written from Golden Corral forever. I'd say, well, piss on you. I ain't coming back. I'm going to go somewhere where if I want 3 rounds of lasagna, I can. My case in point is 5-year terms, and let whoever it is run as many times as they want. And if they get elected, great. If they don't, great. The American people decide. And by having strong, ironclad politicians need to be held to a high standard. Congress, you guys are some of the worst. And that's what I mean. Like, I hate to point fingers, and I hate to like draw party lines, but if I need to, I will. The Democrats have fought tooth and nail for every policy and pious. I mean, when it comes to bathrooms, transgenderism, to giving money away to people, places, and things that don't matter, showing special attention to special interest groups versus trying to uphold and bring forth all the people of the United States. I, as God, do not look at the United States and go, the white people, the brown people, the gray people, the green people. No. As God, I look at you all as my children. Some are born by heaven and others are not. There's that standing salvation that is offered to every living, breathing human being, regardless of your seed. And then, of course, I do show my favor to certain seeds that I created from the beginning, right? That's my Abrahamic lines. So to answer another question regarding Cohen and that young lady, you know, the tribes, right? They're all very specific in their duty to me. So that is something that I take priority because, again, you're talking to potentially some of these priests and some of these Cohens, or that a lot of them could even end up in my personal cabinet. So there is going to be that respect of the bloodlines in terms of, you know, the tribe of Benjamin, the tribe of Judah, and then all the tribes are going to get their well-earned respect, is what I'm trying to say. And then, of course, but likewise, that does not bar, right, Gentiles from participating in my cabinet either. But I'm just saying that there is going to be, if we were looking at it in school, right, so everyone must attend, you know, 10th grade. Well, there are some folks that have an IEP, you know, and so that IEP allows that student a little extra time to take tests. It allows that student maybe an extra 2 minutes to get to class if they have like a wheelchair, like their special needs or accommodations, right, based on that person's specific needs. So when it comes to me, my cabinets, my bloodlines, the seeds, so the original tribes of Israel are all going to have like a different lane, is what I mean. And so they will be shown and also have privy to special events, special things, ceremonies that not necessarily the Gentiles would be invited to, you see. But that doesn't, like, again, bar the Gentiles or anybody, you know, from being in covenant, being in salvation, being in the church, the true body. Everyone's welcome. But again, everyone also has their purpose, place, and pattern. Sanctuary cities. No, absolutely not. Not today, not tomorrow, not next year, not next age, not next coming, nothing. Sanctuary cities is literally the byproduct of the bleeding left that got America in these dangerous and unsuccessful programs to begin with. It is impious. It is deadly. It is dangerous. And, quite frankly, we as America have all the potential to be all that we can be under me, as you are my nation. In a spiritual sense, right? You are. And I obviously live in America. I have more than just my God view and my God powers to do with America. You know, I have opinions, but I keep my opinions in favor of the American people, right? Because I am one of the American people too. So, as a constituent of my own government, but also as a person in my own creation, and as God of my own creation, I not only have a unique benefit of living in creation and experiencing all these things for myself, but doing it on a level of a citizen and on a voter. I don't vote, but not that I'm a felon. I don't vote because I'm a king. So that was the one thing Jack Hibbs got right. But I'm just saying, all in all, America can do better. Tariffs, big fan. It might hurt the American people very, very temporarily, but I can tell you what's going to end up happening is that's unsustainable, because those companies are going to have to go, okay, fine, we're not going to charge you any tariff, America. Can you take it off? If you charge us no tariffs, then I won't charge you a tariff. Sound fair? There you go. Or if the ones that, they charge the tariff and then we begin reciprocal tariffs, and if then they want to pass that expense on to the consumer, then we're going to send that price right back to them. And if they don't comply, then they won't be selling goods in America, point blank. Like, we're going to clean it up. That's a big thing also going for produce, and a lot of the farmers of America have struggled in the past because, again, you have stores being able to purchase foreign produce. I don't like that, because we have hardworking men, women that are farmers, and they are making great crops, better crops in a lot of examples, because they're putting forth modern day technology. They're increasing nutrients in the ground. If we can reduce the amount of insecticide we use and herbicide, and then also control the radiation output of the sun into these crops, these are things I can help with. And then not only will farmers see an increase in their finances, but they're also going to see a benefit that when you're having massive crops grown in America like we can, guys, we've got fields, we've got millions of acres of farm right now that is being underutilized. Like, we need to grow stuff to grow stuff. So that's a big segment. I'm probably going to have to carve that out and do a separate video, but I don't want to get too clogged up. Drilling, absolutely. So remember, your climate change problem is only a problem when I'm upset. So if we can get past this hill and I can at least garner enough support to keep me in a way, like, I hate to say this because I feel almost like immature or like a child, but if I can garner enough support and enough progress for the temple, for me, for prosperity of the Americans, seeing help being given to those in need on a much bigger scale, and essentially I can be pacified with seeing this progress, I'll work with you on the weather. Like, I really will. Like, you talk about records being broken with heat and snow and ice and rain and tornadoes and hail and hurricanes. I would love to show you the first time on record that we've had a perfect season. I want you to imagine what that could look like for you. Imagine a farmer who didn't have to turn on his sprinkler once. And they know this. The rain that comes from the sky, my rain, natural rain, right, that comes from the natural filtration system of the earth. So you've seen it in your Publixes or your grocer. They have that mist that comes down on the vegetables. So it's basically natural rain is more healthier than using like groundwater that can be polluted, which it usually is with a lot of your oils. Cars, like a lot of pollutants get into groundwater, and then groundwater is used for crops, and next thing you know, they're testing mangoes at the consumer side, and it's picking up 0.05 of lead. Well, that's because of the heavy metals, right, that are happening in cars, which, by the way, on that point, if we continue, right, to produce American vehicles, I'm all up for it. I think the electric vehicles are actually more detrimental in long-term effects, because you guys got to understand that those cars are not built to last very long, one, and number two, those batteries, guys, they don't disintegrate, so that's not recyclable in a lot of ways, and so that is a potential problem down the road, versus having cars with a little bit cleaner emissions would be a big help. But also, when you are buying American cars, or even cars that are built in America, they're built different than Japanese and Chinese factories due to the higher level of standard. What I mean is, it's a stupid problem, but it's a problem nonetheless, right? A lot of crappy cars that are made with loose oil pans and leaky head gaskets and all this crap, you see it in the parking lots of every store. You see it at gas stations, right? There's always puddles of oil. Those are heavy metals. That's heavy elements. That's toxic. That's petroleum. That stuff needs to stay off the roadway, off of the grass, and out of the water. How do we do that? What's the route? You got to build better cars, right? You're going to have to build better cars at a comfortable price point. So instead of, making outlandish things on vehicles that are just stupid, like there's a lot of stupid stuff in vehicles. I have a Cadillac. I know I really like my Cadillac, but I could do without some of the fluff, and instead build me a machine that isn't going to have oil issues, leaking issues, right? Build me a machine that I can keep for 30 years. Build me a machine that I can keep for 10 and give it to my son when he turns 16. Like, these are the American ways, Not buying a car every 2 or 3 years because it's a throwaway. Now you're amassing more garbage. You're amassing more junk, right? Whereas if you made it good the first time, it wouldn't have needed to be replaced. But you could also charge a heftier premium, right, for that one vehicle. So if I bought, let's say my Cadillac is a legacy Cadillac. Let's say that's my term, right? Cadillac Legacy, 30-year car, right? It comes with a 30-year maintenance plan. It comes with being built the best. My Cadillac I got used, and I think we got it for like $40,000. So if we put an extra $20K into that bad boy, but beefed it up to the point where it would last 30 years, like if our intent is making something last versus making something cheap, we all come out winners. My creation comes out a winner, the consumer comes out a winner, and we are indefinitely reducing our footprint carbon-wise, but we're still able to have a high-quality product that actually is better for the person, better for the economy, because then they can actually charge a little more for the product because it's worth it. But then when you're talking about, financing and leasing, you can even do extended terms because the car would be valuable still after a 5-year term or a 7-year term or whatever the terms are. I don't know. My big case in point on this one is let's try and focus on quality, not so much quantity. You see? And that goes right into all industries. Like, let's make better clothes. Let's make better cars. Let's make better buildings. Let's make things with heart, with passion, with dignity, with respect. I remember a long time ago, as a, young boy, like 10 years old, let's say. But I remember a friend of mine's dad, his dad built these, like, Waffle Houses and Circle K's, for example. And I remember, like, hearing it in the car, them talking about, he drove around and they'd see the Circle K that he built, and they'd be like, yeah, my dad built that, like, in 1972, and then my dad built that, and then having that discussion that before that, like, they were building things that were made to last forever, including that house that they had. It was built like in 1930 something, and the house, like, this was back in 2000, but 1930 to 2000, so like 70 years, and the house beautiful, like not a chip on it, like beautiful. Point is, like, let's make things to last. This is America. This isn't throwaway China. And that's another thing. We can't let the Asian Pacific regimes dictate our move. If China comes out with a cheaper Hyundai that's price pointed at $22,000 and America is salivating trying to get something out there that they can compete at $21,000, that's not the way you are successful in business anyway. You should always strive for a higher quality, like, period. And if your constituents or your purchasers cannot afford that price point, then we just redirect back to how can we upward lift our citizens to be able to be in the category to afford that vehicle, to afford that house. Like, whatever the problem is, we want to find every reason why we can make that connection versus the banks and big money, right? Where money controls the outcomes, right? Money controls the outcome, and money says, if you're not a good risk, fuck you. That's what money says. And then the human being is left with a mechanical response from a robot, from a computer, but it's a human being, a living, breathing person that requires a car to take their kids to school. They require a roof over their head because they're a human being, and it's against the law to sleep under the overpass. There's nowhere for vagrants or vagabonds to go nowadays, so you must have a solution, a viable solution. And if they've got mental health issues, then we need to have access to healthcare. Not affordable, healthcare, right? Let's get these people helped before we start worrying about where the money's coming from. I guarantee you, there'd be a vote of 10-10 if we had only votes within the medical practice of getting these people that are homeless. They might have severe drug problems where they need to go into rehab for 6 months. I, as God, as Father, as Yahweh-Yahuwah, as Yeshua, I stand behind that. Let's get these people help, right? I'm not asking questions, and I don't want to burden a homeless man with medical debt. I want to see him happy, healthy, and then he can become a productive citizen and find his place in the world. Like, these are all things of restoration and of healing. And these are all things that I can not only help with in America, but Israel, you guys are next on my list. Anyway, I'm not trying to get too sidetracked, but I'm a little excited. I feel a lot better than yesterday, even though I think I'm having like allergies. I got this scratchy throat, and I'm having massive pollen coming off my oak trees already. The winds from the storms are blowing it all on my porch. Anyway, carrying on. I said no to sanctuary, said yes. Okay. Yeah, that's another thing on that. Once we can 100% say that, our cities are free of illegal immigrants, they're inhabited now by American families, then we can do a census and say who we have, what type of labor force we actually have, because we don't even know. We haven't done an honest census probably since the 60s. They give us that deep data, which is what I want. So I'm putting that forth to Trump as well. So a lot of things that I'm doing, I'm actually working through Trump. I'm working through Johnson. Was working with Vance, and I still will. I don't, give him any shit about, sending not condolences yet, but prayers and stuff to Pope Francis. In all honesty, I don't even have raw feelings against Pope Francis in that way. On a spiritual level, and feeling that my kingship has been disgraced, it has been overran by man, and that it breaks my heart and makes me feel terrible that I'm having to fight so hard just to be seen when I still have yet to really open my book of work and say let's get to work now. I'm trying to be transparent. I'm trying to be the God everyone deserves. And I feel like I'm only the God that, is getting a bad rap from anger and wrath. And I don't want that. I would much rather, lay down the beginning of a never-ending legacy of not only prosperity, but climbing heights that have never even before been fathomed. Record number highs of, I'll note that. My list is getting really big. Okay. But anyway, I want to do a census once we start getting a little bit more grease on the wheels, but I'd like to get an idea of what our entire labor force is, what qualifications they have, in what areas. That way, when we are taking applications for foreign interest companies to come and build here, we can say, you're going to manufacture, microchips for this thing. Okay, cool. Well, we have an area here in our map that shows we've got, 20,000 individuals that actually have a proclivity towards, microchip manufacturing or microtechnologies or something of that effect. It loses a lot in my own translation, but people that do these things, economists, those types of individuals will understand fully what I mean. So that's one thing. Tariffs, yes. Drilling, yeah, why not? As long as we're doing it clean, there's nothing wrong with putting the straw down between the cracks to pull out fossil fuel. I'm okay with it. And again, as long as we are at a ratio of, we should be about, if we're at 78% forest, that's like the bare minimum. We should be comfortably within about 83% of forest, and that doesn't mean that, oh, well, this is just one big chunk of federal land that's tied up. That's not at all what I mean. What I mean is there's a lot of federal land that's tied up, not being used. So, in Gold Rush, the show I watch, everyone knows that, when they gold mine, right, they're opening up these big pits, they're taking the gold, but then they're doing the reclamation process. And afterwards, there are more habitats for the ducks, for the eagles, for the bears, for the otters, the beavers, whatever, right? Tons, even more. So much more that after a few years, the miners will visit those same lands, because sometimes their claims intersect each other, and they'll have a hard time discerning even, like, was this mined or not mined? Like, they got to go in there, dig, and they go, oh, it's tailings. Like, no, we've been here, or someone has. The same kind of thing can go for mining. The same kind of thing can go for oil drilling, right? These are all things that are possible, and they're fine with me, so long as we are not becoming Sneedsville, right? If we tear down a piece of this forest, then when we're done, hopefully in 24 months or less, we can replant that and more, is what I mean. That's fine, because the evergreens, right, the topside green stuff, just call it what you will, right, through photosynthesis, that's actually what's cleaning your air for you. So we want to, keep our air quality better and then purify that the best we can using the natural creation. That's what I mean. If we use creation naturally, and I'll show everyone how to do that with time, that'll be a step in the right direction. So pipeline, yes. And I'm also a supporter of President Trump pulling out of that Paris Accord, pulling out of the United Nations. Like, what a joke. Like, United Nations is not anything, like, other than an infiltrated demonic seed cabinet that likes to blaspheme Israel and likes to, try to manhandle the pious people of the world while giving a voice to the wicked, wretched, and impious ones of the world. The United Nations can burn for all I give a damn. It's a disgrace. I instead put forth the American Accord, or even the American-Israel Accord. And that is where, on a world basis, right, other countries should be coming to America and Israel saying, can you help us purify our air? Can you help us build machines as good as you? Can you help us build neighborhoods that are beautiful, breathtaking neighborhoods? And I mean, where everything is unique, right? Forget these cookie cutter builders. Like, what a shame. All of you builders, like, I see so many of these neighborhoods pop up, and you guys have like 4 designs. That's as far as your creativity goes, as 4 designs, you schmuck. Like, it's ridiculousness. Where's the craftsmanship, right? Where's that care, that concern, that love? Well, I'll tell you where it is. It's because the B system automates the house buying. If you have the money and you have the credit, you get whatever you want. If you don't, screw you. Now, I'm not saying people that have a hard time managing their money should be allowed to have yachts and boats and skylines. Like, I'm not saying that, but I am saying that at the bare minimum, right, every human family should have a home, is what I'm saying, right? It should be a free give me. We have a lot of existing structures that we could employ millions of individuals. Talk about all this wasted money, right? You got federal workers making $80,000 a year that all they're supposed to do is watch paint dry. Get the hell out of there. Go get a real job. We don't need that. We don't need that mess. But instead, I'd like to see on the books, and I say, wow, we're employing over 1 million construction gentlemen all across the country, and their job is they go out when there are empty houses that are foreclosed on. They're not in the hands of private sectors. They're going to be refurbed and rehabished and brought past code to be beautiful, investing 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 grand, whatever we have to do to get that structure ready to go for a family ready to move in, right? Do overhauls with our schools. Our schools are heavily underfunded, and my son goes to a STEAM school, and we participate in everything we can because we don't have a lot of money to just donate to anything, but we can, help out with like the Culver's night. We like Culver's. That's a nice, respectable place. I enjoy Culver's. I walk in, it's pleasant, the staff is pleasant, the food is really good, it's always clean, the facilities are always clean. Like, it's a highlight. I really enjoy going out to eat to Culver's, and it's in support of his school. What a wonderful purpose, right? You're going out to eat, my son's hanging out with his friends, my wife is talking to other moms from the school, I'm eating by myself usually, but I'm just saying, like, it's a good thing. Gosh, this pollen is killing me. It's got my throat tickly. But all right, I'm gonna take 5, and then we'll get back to it. Okay, and we're back here. So I still have quite a bit more I'd like to go through. And so one of those points that I left off on too was, how do we accomplish so much? Well, a lot of times in the realms, in heaven, when I'm about to put forth a creation, it usually stems because there's a flaw somewhere, right? There is a purpose that's no longer being served, so I either have to eliminate it or I have to expand it. So applying the same principles to the inner workings of society, civilization, right? Mankind, like that is, essentially at your purpose, right? You are purposed to, be civilized, live in a pious, upright community, a beautiful one, right? One that we're proud of, not Mardi Gras. I don't like that mess. That's nonsense. That's impious. Is so many flagrantly disrespectful and sinful things that happen in Mardi Gras. Sorry I rained on your parade, literally, but I'm God. That's what I do. If I don't like it. Now, let's just see a regular old Americana parade, like, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with honoring our service members, right? What's wrong with, showing our respect, love, and appreciation for our healthcare workers? These are the men and women, our first responders, our firefighters, our teachers, our educators. What's wrong with, showing their exemplary work in the communities, in and around. My son, unfortunately, had a mishap on the playground last week, so we ended up visiting St. Joseph's down in Tampa. What a wonderful place. My son was born at St. Joseph's. Both of them, actually. So, I have nothing but high regard for the staff at St. Joseph's. And, the orthopedic doctor that he saw, what an amazing group of individuals, from hello to, getting his cast on to, getting out the door. I have tremendous respect for him, truly, like great people. So I'm saying, we can have parades, we can have, honors, but let's give honors to those people, right? Let's not show that the Haktuas of the world get glory. That's not the way this system is ran. If you are a disobedient, shameful person, if you're disrespectful to others, if you are a POS, and people are glorifying you, then someone needs their head examined. We should not be propagating the worst parts of our society, right? This is the literal part of, calling evil good and good evil. We should be cleaning up this stuff where we're able to see, and it starts with us. It starts at the individual level, but it also permeates, through our courts, through our political systems, and it also works with the absolute, cooperation between our strongest allies. In Israel and America, right? I said this, you guys are sisters. You guys are sisters, and I love you equally. Even though both of you require a different approach when it comes to me, that's fine. But economically, strength and military, like all these things are within your control, and it has my blessing, because I'm telling you now, and that's another thing, like I'm still gonna have to deal with the remainder of the world, is kind of what I'm saying. And I will be dealing with a lot of demonic strongholds very harshly. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I will bring that on top of Israel or America And right now, I'm very far from that, because I genuinely feel a sense of daylight breaking, where maybe, just maybe, we can get this thing done the right way. And I'll be honest, man, we could shortcut the road to success into amazing a lot of things, if I could cut out that chapter of, that's what I mean. Like, I know there's a lot of Bible prophecy enthusiasts out there that, are really hardcore waiting on, like everything to be fire and brimstone. And I mean, that's going to happen regardless. But the question really is, where is it going to happen? I would like that to be the other nations, right? And America's mine, Israel's mine, and for lack of a better term, I'm pleased with a lot of the Russian people. Forget the government, but the Russian people as a whole, right? A lot of them are Christian. A lot of them are fervent prayers. A lot of them, in general, right? They're very pious people. They're hardworking people. They're smart people. And again, there's no reason why they can't be a part of the world stage in a free trade scenario. All right, I'm going to take a quick 5. Be right back. Okay, back again. All right, there we go. Back again. So I actually had a good brief, consort talk there, and I was just re-talking that same point, because if you remember, it took the Soviet Union to defeat Adolf Hitler, and I know this generation doesn't really fully think about things like that, because it's been so far removed. Well, it's not far removed for me. None of it has. It's kind of the same feeling as the other ones: the Persian Empire rising, the Ottoman Empire rising, Babylon rising. But there is no reason that American-Russian relations cannot be not only good, but can be very beneficial to each other. And really, other than the few mishaps, long ago, right, there is nothing that prohibits that, except for the opinions of lackeys. And honestly, a lot of those sign holders, So, just to recap, right, I definitely think a deal on the table. Let Russia take Kiev north of that river, and then let Ukraine have the rest south, and the international community steps in to ensure a fair election is held by the people, and then the rebuilding of infrastructure should be left up to the European Union. And, the European Union can help, get Ukraine back underway. And, maybe even with the sanctions being removed from America and Russia and opening up free trade between the both routes, maybe a small side deal can be put into place to help Ukraine rebuild their infrastructure, and hopefully do it right, do it pious, and get peace in that area indefinitely. Because guys, the world is running out of room, and there are not going to be as many players in this game as people think right now. At least when I'm done, there won't be. So I'm really trying to set my chessboard up that's going to be beneficial to all those that are willing to fall under the one true God, me, Yahweh-Yahuwah. And even if you don't see me in all my fullness, right? Because I get it. Like, I look like you, I talk like you, but I'm not you, and I'm not like any of you. I'm very much me, have always been me. But again, I want to see prosperity, and I want to see things done that can be. And the only thing stopping it is small minds. So, and with that being said, right, I don't have the same sentiment when it comes to China, to be quite frank. I have a bit of a disdain for President Xi in some ways. I think he holds himself in the public view quite well. But when it comes to being able to really deal fairly with China, I don't see it right now. But at the same time, I know President Trump because literally he's a created. So I completely know what that man is and what he's about, what he's able and capable of, and that is a lot. So I look at that as, turning on the American engine and letting it open up full throttle. Because for what it's worth, hey, I'm an American. And that's another hurdle my Jewish family is going to have to get over, right? Because the last time I was here and I went to fulfill that prophecy and had that bloodline that they sought for, like, it wasn't enough, right? The seeing and believing wasn't enough. So that was it. You guys shot the bed, and kind of is what it is, right? I'm still your God. That doesn't change. I'm the same Spirit. I'm the same Yahweh, the same Yahweh-Yahuwah. But I am a American man this time. So it is what it is, right? And that's right, because everyone is going to have to give concessions, right? Christians, you guys are going to have to give up the name, and you're going to have to fall in line with the name, right? The Jews are going to have to give up that bloodline, and in return, you get your real Hashem. You get the true Yahweh, Yahuwah. And for the rest of the world, right, who still prays to dead gods or powers that are no longer in play, and they're just really operating off of their own micro energies. That's a big placebo effect. They have that opportunity to fall in line under the one true God and receive those blessings. And again, it's very simple. A part of any constitution or any government should be the embedment of the 10 Commandments, right? 10 Commandments and knowing the name of the Creator. That's not a religion. That is literally like, it's like if you went into a theme park and the theme park says no smoking, don't play with the tigers, don't jump on the roller coaster, keep your hands inside the wheels, make sure you're wearing a seatbelt. Like, no, none of y'all have a fuss with that. Because you understand, well, if I put my hand outside of it on a roller coaster, I might lose it. Or if I'm smoking in this area, well, it's probably not good because there are children. Like, there are reasons behind these things. It's not just because the theme park is dreaming up crap to make your experience an inconvenient one. Quite the opposite. They're trying to put in place rules for your safety, your well-being, but also so everyone gets to enjoy it equally, you see. Me as God want the same thing. I want people to be able to explore the creation without the fear of evil and wicked men and women who want to steal, rob, destroy. Those types of people will not exist in the new earth state. It's not happening, period. And and then again, I do not want any of my righteous, my pious, my upright, my Christians, even my Jewish family, and even the Gentile covenant or just the name covenant. Like, I don't want any people that are under my umbrella to be in the way of danger, and especially when I'm throwing judgments. But I'll tell you what, like, you also have to look out for your brethren, because I kind of cocked a bad mood yesterday really early when I got a snotty comment. And there's one thing that you guys could call me mean, you can call me all kinds of things, and I try to have thick skin about it, but at times I can be a little thin-skinned, depending on what I'm dealing with in a carnal way, and it all goes back to you guys. And so that's what I mean. Like, I had a really snotty comment, talking about, oh, like, here comes the false messiahs. And it's like, I'm looking around, like, are you talking to me? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I am God Elohim. I'm Yahweh-Yahuwah. Like, take what you just said and shove it right up your ass. Like, I am not to be trifled with, A. I am not to be mocked, B. And I am not to be mischaracterized and mismanaged and handled in that way without my retribution towards that person. So, as a Christian, as a fellow, that's what I mean. Like, you guys need to adopt a more personal mentality of who I am and what I'm for and why I'm here. And a lot of that is like, hey guys, like, Creator's back. We got his name. We've seen his good side. We've seen his bad side. And just like if you have an upright father, right? Well, he has limits too. The best of fathers, if you continue to push them in the wrong way and you continue as an unruly child, that father is going to at some point, incorporate discipline to correct that behavior. And I know it might sound, kind of petty about my name, but guys, I'm dwelling with you. I am among you. I am among people already. And it really is hurtful. Like, just think about it as a personal thing. Like, it's hurtful whenever I see all places that are for me that know nothing about me. I see these names all over the place, but it means nothing because it's not the real me. Like, it doesn't describe anything about my real character. It doesn't describe anything about who I really am, what I care for, what I stand for. You know, and again, that's a part of that, right? So each section is gonna have to like take that, if you will, that trial, right, and say like you know, if you're a Christian, right, you guys, you know, get my name right. Like that's what I mean. That's the start. Like, let's get my name right, and then I'll answer whatever questions you want. I'll do, you know, kind of whatever we need to do. Oh, babe, she is missing a foot. The bird. That's why she keeps coming around. I'll take her in. I'll come out there and grab her. Oh, dang. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry, I'm back again. I feel like my house is like almost a full-time animal hospital because they always end up here. I had cats that she gave birth right before one of the big storms, and I had like 9 cats that I had to deal with. Then I had a bird with a broken wing. Now this one has a broken foot, and she came to me. I've had all kinds of stuff. Every animal that seems to like get hurt literally comes to the yard, and I've even had Billa Ruckus drop off a fledgling one time. Anyway, all right, back on point. I'll deal with her after. So, where was I at? So yeah, a part of the things, right, how I operate into the purpose sequence is I take the outcome I need, and then I go kind of up from there. So if we're talking on a basic level, what do we need to make sure everyone in America is housed, right? Well, first off, we're going to have to take that big profit, right, out of the common housing. So common housing should be the label that we're putting on that, or something to that effect. Common housing meaning this is our baseline existence, like our baseline of civilization. And I don't mean like projects or Section 8. I don't mean bureaucratic red tape. I mean imagine if we think of it as a family, like, hey, someone's pregnant, right? They're a newly married couple, you know, they did things right. They're about to welcome their first baby. This is a happy moment. This is a glorious moment, right? And not only as a family do we say, well, we need to make sure this family is going to be, you know, housed, upkept, whatever, right? They should have that option right off the bat without digging themselves into a financial rut. Because right now, if everybody had that ability to have a common house, and, you know, essentially it's their baseline, and if in their future, right, they make more money, they do really good, they, you know, want to branch off into luxury housing, well, then you're in a different category, right? That's when you are matured in your career, you want more than a common housing, and it's the same thing you're doing now, but it's removing the restrictions, it's removing the credit requirement for the basic things that are required to be a human being, is what I'm saying, you know. So that is not only going to open up opportunities for individuals, but families, but it's also going to put people in a better position where they're no longer wanting to spend 30 years in an entry-level career, you know, if they are on the bottom part of society. Instead, they'll be able to have that baseline, and then they'll be able to go from there up. But if they fall, they're not going to fall below that threshold, is what I mean. Okay. So let's shift gears. So when it comes to Israel, so I've already covered that, you know, if we are building a temple, I ask you, please, the cherry on top, you know, do not defile it, do not invite anyone. I mean, I am the Spirit of God, Hashem, Yahweh-Yahuwah, you know, Yehovah. Please don't defile my temple without having anybody but me. Because unequivocally, 100%, I am only me. I am only one of me. There's only one me, one God. I mean, there were other gods, and there are other gods that exist. But again, that would be the equivalent of saying I had supervisors who worked for my company 2,300 years ago, and I let them go. And I never hired supervisors back. So, I'm running my own company now because it's better that way. And in the future, if I can get certain things rolled out the way I like them, and I have that need, which that need will be there, then I want to be able to pick from my own cabinet. So drawing into that lane, but not going too much. I want to start seeing 15 minutes or less videos. Just post them. You don't have to tag me. I'll find them. They'll find me. But I want to see tribes, some of the tribes of Israel putting forth videos why they should be on my delegation. And then likewise, I'd like to see, Gentiles putting forth the same thing. Like, why should you be on my council? What can you do? What can you do? What ideas do you have? Give me a 5 minutes of how you know me. Like, what was the intervention done in your life that I've done and only I do? Like, give me a statement of faith, but also give me of, how useful you are, right? Kind of like Elon Musk's approach, which, it's my approach, is, sending that email. What are you good at? What are you good for? And are you worth it? Type of thing. So that doesn't mean that I value one man over another. I don't. I value all men equally, and women, of course, and children are my soft spot. So when it comes to things like schooling, education, early child care, and I obviously am 100% against abortion, unless there is a unforeseen medical situation. But that's the thing, right? That gets abused. That stokes my temper, so I'm not even talking about it. I love the children. I love babies, and I hate it when something gets returned because of selfishness, and I hate to say this because I don't want mothers to die on the operating table either, but an upright, pious mother would give her life for her child any day of the week, any day of the month. And so when you are a female and you have that ability to choose a lifestyle over a life, and I hate to go somber, but that's a really hard one for me to get over, and that is a really hard one for me to. It is forgivable, but it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. Yeah, and I don't even want to go there because it just gets me upset. So anyway, back to Israel. So Israel, you guys are right there on the precipice of getting it together, but we still have this Islamic jihadist terrorism is an issue. I would like to see task force of Israeli and U.S. Marshals, right, that have an international ability to not only go out to seek, but to hunt down terrorist organizations. That includes MS-13, that includes Venezuela gangs, that includes Mexican cartels, that includes any and all Islamic jihadist terrorists, that includes any and all terrorists, period. And this is an international effort. Also what I mean. Now imagine if we were to open up relations with Russia again. We won World War II with the help of the Soviet Union. We couldn't have done it without them. What changed? It shouldn't take long to go back and do a little bit of historic policy to see kind of how that relationship got screwed up. And then, whatever. Point is, imagine having an international U.S. Marshal team, right? 100,000 of them, and they are going out into the world specifically to get intel on these gangs, to get intel on these cartels, to get intel any places. That way we can root them out, get them out of there, right? These communities, these upright communities, do not want them in there, right? Lebanon is... That's another thing. My territory, the Middle East is mine. For however you want to shake that down, the Middle East was originally mine. Jerusalem is mine. Gaza is mine. And it is turning into a hellhole. Not Israel. Israel's doing good. But everything around it is being overran by the demon seed. Again, this is why Satan is in the Middle East. His physical presence is in the Middle East. Because he, just as I am on earth, he is also on earth. And that chicken will come home to roost. So that chicken will come home to roost. But not today, and likely not this week. But I'm saying we need to get ahead of that curve, because even as the world gets dangerous, it should not be dangerous for Israel, America, and if Russia can say, "Hey, I'm good. Let's shake some hands. Let's open things up, and let's not just be frenemies with America and Israel. Let's be allies." We can help Russia barter that deal, right? Get that land north of Kyiv. European Union can help Ukraine start setting back up infrastructure. We can unlock tariffs and sanctions with Russia, open that back up, start drilling on American soil so we can start supplying our own gas and natural oil. And then, we could be an exporter of those things instead of us being the purchaser of all things. America used to be a balanced nation. Now we are a nation of all service workers. And we're leaving a big majority of 40% of people behind that are craftsmen. Like, you have talented craftsmen doing IKEA houses. Like, we're going in the wrong direction. As the civilization acquires more knowledge and acquires more things, the product should be more beautiful. See, in this day and age, people are always about price and doing it cheap. And it's like, now you have a cheap society. You have cheap moral value. You have cheap goods that don't last, and everything is, like, I hate to say it, but it's all like uniform, but like in a nasty hospital gown kind of way. Like, it's not in a good way. We need to be prided ourselves on what things, if we were to look back in history and say what things really set us apart as a nation, what things set Israel apart, America apart, right? A lot of that is the craftsmanship of the homes that were being built. It's the ability for every man and woman to be able to have a family of 4, right? A husband, a wife, 2 kids, and, at least 1 car and a nice home. Like, all these things are not only possible, but they are the baseline. We as a civilization have seeped below the baseline, and then have now begun to accept impiousness and evil and wicked and all things that are money driven and not purpose driven. All things that are selfish interest driven versus a larger purpose, pattern, and plan driven. People are only concerned with, well, I'm going to buy this house, throw a few band-aids on it, put a big smile on it, and sell it for double. And they're celebrating because they collected 200,000 more Donkey Kong coins. And it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? Like, get it out of your heads. What's the purpose? The purpose is, we need, if we're gonna build a house, let's build a nice one. Let's build one that person is gonna be proud of. They're gonna take care of. Like, we're gonna build neighborhoods and communities and townships and schools and colleges and all these things, but doing it right with the purpose in mind, right? And the purpose is a human being. Humanity is my purpose, and seeing all things good for you is my job. But also, my job is just like any CEO. I got to make sure my company's efficient. I got to make sure my people are happy, but I also got to protect my people from those who want to embezzle, those who want to steal, who want to create fraud, who want to waste, who want to abuse others, who want to, isolate policies that are only going to work for a certain amount of few. Like, that's all that you guys are doing when you're peddling sanctuary cities and you're sending $60 million damn dollars, for elections. And what is it, Zimbabwe? Like, one of my good friends was from Zimbabwe, and even he thinks that's insanity, and he knows that ain't true. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is insane. I expect more out of my own sons, and even though they are the sons of God in the flesh in a literal sense, but I expect more out of them than what I see that, like, on a large scale, the governments of the world, or what just structures that exist. But like I said, I'm in a pretty good mood because I see a lot of the things that I've put in President Trump's heart, that I've convicted him in his heart with, that he is seeing. That's what I like, is I like when people are able to see me, see my intent, see what I want to do through their own eyes, and then they're able to walk and go, wow, like, I'm seeing things in this way. You are seeing with my Ruach, right? You are literally interacting with me in spirit, because when I go out in spirit, I'm not limited as an individual, right? When I go out in spirit, I am the air, right? If the air is all connected, right? If someone's breathing in the United States and they're breathing air in Russia and they're breathing air in China, they're all still under one globe, right? One earth. That air is me, right? The essence of life itself. So anytime somebody aligns with my ideals, my beliefs, and the truth, it's like hitting those green lights. And then if you were to look at it in a visual, like green light, green light, green light, you got my name, the pattern, the plan, you have a faith of conviction, or a conviction of faith, and you're lit up. I'm going to lend you all my powers. I'm going to lend you all my angels. I'm going to lend you whatever resources I have as God, and even myself included, right? If I need to make a video like this in a carnal way to say, good job, President Trump, I'm confirming why you're doing this, you know? And, yeah. And on that note, like, I don't want to bash, you know, President Zelensky whatsoever. I do not have any ill words for the man at all. But as a modern society and a civilization, like, we need to be holding those elections. And again, I think at a pious level that the international community should be able to put something together and make that happen. The United Nations can kiss my ass. I personally want to see the Americas out of there. I want to see Israel out of there. And I don't even know if Russia's in there. But withdraw, get out of there, give them my warning, tell them to pick up the 10 Commandments and learn my name. Because if not, I will begin to burn cities, topple cities, ignite volcanoes, and I'm going to tear through them. I'll tear through them. Because, I mean, saying it without saying it, if there are still third world ideals that exist on this planet, which does in places like Iran, there's no place for Islamic jihadist murderers. There's not. There is no place in a new earth state for murderous countries. And to be honest, I personally, when I get over to the Middle East, starting in Israel, of course, and don't get your hopes up, because until my temple is built and until we have a choreographed, official, you know, Mount of Olives speech, and I told you, an official Mount of Olives speech with a sign and wonder I will work to prove that I'm Hashem, I am Yahweh-Yahuwah, and then the convoy going from the mountain to my temple. Well, I will also, again, speak with the elected Aaron, speak with the chiefs of the tribes, but also have an official opening ceremony. And then again, with all those in attendance, I will work another sign and wonder as I'm lighting the eternal flame. And then I would like to have a feast for all who are attendance. And I again envision not only millions in attendance, but millions feasting in Israel at the same time for the opening of this temple. And then we'll get down to business. We'll get down to business. You know, I'll be meeting, you know, hopefully Bibi is you know, still there and keeping it together. I know he's got a hard job, and I would also like a lot of the opposition to Bibi to stop, because I think he has done a great job dealing with, you know, his responses to the attacks, dealing with his responses to Islamic jihadist terrorism. You know, so I'd love to, you know, not only speak with Benjamin, myself, but a lot of leaders and just a lot of people in general. Like, there's a lot of rabbis that I've never seen your face in a carnal way, but I know you in here. I know what you sound like. I even know what you smell like, which is another thing. So for all those that will be in attendance to the temple ceremony in Israel, you know, there are protocols for being clean. So those that will be stepping into what you might call the inner tabernacle, right, or past the terrace and into the Holy of Holies. So the leaders of the chiefs, or the chiefs of the tribes, and then the elected Aaron, you guys will need to go through an official process of sanctification before you enter that. So I just wanted to give a heads up, like, that is going to be in play. But I'm really excited. I think there's a lot of good stuff coming down the pipe, and I do believe that it can be done. And I do believe that I am going to be able to accomplish all things, including, toppling impious nations, cleaning up the garbage, getting rid of evil seed, just eliminating it, and then putting in even solutions. This is a little further down the road, but things to end childhood cancer. Like, there's nothing more than I'd like to see that ends, and that is something that I, as God, am able to help with. So I can go into the human genome, and then basically, once I don't have any more mixed seed, so that's the thing, right? Once I've purified all who's going to remain, and what I mean by purify is it's not like it's all Jews, or all blacks, or all whites, or all browns, or whatever. That's not what I mean. Seeds are, you have those that are the wild weeds of the devil, of Satan, of the created beings that don't have the ability to get souls or spirits, right? We're going to help those weak and sick ones over the line and get them in the good. And all those that want to stand opposition to me, they're going to be taken out. So if you want to imagine that there's a line of fire, right, a big wall of fire, and I'm on one side and I'm telling the world, like, everyone has a choice. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what you've done. I don't care what your sin is. I'm the one who can absolve sins and take you into the realms and plant your soul into heaven and give you a spirit in return. That's your eternal life here now. I'm the only one that can do it because I'm the creator of all things. That's my offer, right? Walk through the fire. For a Christian, that's getting the name. For a Jew, that's dealing with the fact that I'm not Jewish, right? For a Russian, it's dealing with the fact that I'm not Catholic. Like, every one of you guys are going to have your own trial by fire, but you're going to have to walk through that fire to get to my side. And once you're on my side, I'm like, hey, welcome. Here's a hug. Stay, remain, be righteous, walk upright, have good dealings with your brothers in this house, and we're going to move forward with a purpose. Versus all those on the other side of that fire, they want to go, nope, I'm stuck on the name, piss on you. Then you're going to be eaten by fire. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not holding you on that side. I'm not preventing you from coming to salvation. I'm welcoming everybody, but you're going to have to walk through that purifying fire of me first to do it. And that not only is a test of loyalty, a test of trust, and before I can start doing things like ending childhood cancer, I know you might call that ridiculous, but understand that your body, your physical body, is a creation of mine in heaven, from the abode. And, there's nothing too small that I can't do. I just need to be able to kind of have my securities, right? I need to be able to have my own promises that say if I do something like this, it's not going to then be abused. It's like having the Pope in a church, right? Well, I wouldn't necessarily even be so opposed to, like, the Pope if they would just use my name right, put down the idolatry, clean up doctrine, and, like, just get with the program, man. That's what I mean. But, the Catholics have got so much junk between me and them. The Jews got so much junk between me and them. The Christians got so much junk between me and them. Who's left for me? Who's left for the one true God, Yahweh-Yahuwah, Yeshua in the flesh? Like, what do I get then? The world's dictated to me what I'm supposed to have, what my name's supposed to be, what I'm supposed to apparently do. Like, that's what I mean. You've made me into Santa Claus, or you've made me into a fictitious person or a myth. And I got to tell the truth that I do enjoy, listening to some of the Anunnaki people that like to have those videos, because I at least see the enthusiasm. Like, they get it totally wrong, but I at least appreciate the enthusiasm that they're trying to be creative. They're trying to, like, put all these pieces together, right? Versus the Christians that are, like, so hell-bent that, like, I'm like, guys, like, you are yelling in my face about things that I participated in. Like, that's that old movie, what was it? The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. He's like, save it, witch, I was there when it was written. That's me. Like, save it. I was there when it was written. I know full and well what we're dealing with here. And I'm not wrong. Like, that's another thing. Like, if I'm wrong about anything that I'm telling you, I mean, minus a few word mix-ups here and there, because I can sometimes talk faster than I think. Or I can think faster than I talk, so that I'm not talking as smooth as I should be. But I'm saying, other than that, like, I'm not lying to you. I have no purpose to. Like, I really don't. And at the same time, I don't think I need to stress the power I do possess. I don't think that's arguable anymore. But at the end of the day, if I was impious, or I was, left-handed path, or anything other than the one true God that I claim I am, that I know I am, I say I am, then I'd have been using all my powers to get my own yacht and build my own tower, and I'd have just had a hippie ranch somewhere, and I mean, that's what I mean. I could have done anything I wanted to do. So very much why I give Trump a lot of leeway in that, because he's very much the same way in terms of, I mean, he did do it, right? But he did it also to accommodate his purpose now, but, make tons of money, basically don't even need to work a day in his life, but he wants to do his duty to his people, right? He genuinely cares for America. He's a patriot among patriots, and that is appreciated from my point of view. But that's the thing, we don't need divide and conquer tactics. What we need is we need to set forth common sense righteousness. And that is the letter of the law, righteousness, the right thing to do, whether it be business, whether it be personal, whether it be education, whether it be health, whether it even be spiritual. Because the spiritual health of our society is also going to determine based on the living situation that all Americans have. Some Americans share in a lavish, luxurious lifestyle, where others are sharing in a very, not even humble, but I wouldn't even go as far as meek, an intolerable level of just survival. And I have to drive past it every day, dropping my kids off to school, and my heart breaks every day, because I, as God, can work miracles in these individuals' lives, and I have. If anyone has eyes to see and ears to hear, I've been where I'm living now for about 3 years, and we went from, hundreds of homeless people to less than 20 in our direct area. And granted, some of that was the cops having to clear out, like homeless camps. But the good news is that was also by purpose, right? I put that into play, but that also drove a lot of them to, get to certain locations that I already predestined for them. And through the helping hands, again, of like Metropolitan Ministries, you guys are saints every day. You guys are saints every day. And I appreciate it, and at the same time, you guys have helped me. Like that's something to be proud of. When I, God, come in the form of, a low person on purpose, and I endure, poverty on purpose, and I particularly take the hard road, the scenic routes on everything to ensure that I'm gaining the full perspective and the full understanding of everything while I'm here, then, I want to make sure it's being used. It's being used for good, is what I'm saying. And Metropolitan Ministries has helped. They could be helped more. And there are not just them. There are food banks, like all these things, but that's Band-Aids, and I don't deal with Band-Aids. I want to create full 100% cities, towns, states, countries, municipalities that are homeless free. That would be an accomplishment. That our country is homeless free. That we have homes for every family in America. That's a win. That is a win that nobody else could take. I want the same thing for Israel. And, if Russia wants to join our party, because again, they've got more than 60% of Christians in their country, then let's make that an accord, right? Every family has a home. Every family has a warm meal. This isn't socialism. This is just like when Elon Musk is going out there and finding fraud, waste, and abuse in the billions. These are things that we could do through, very simple. We again, labor is one of the hardest things to do in business. And guess what? You have no shortage of good American labor. And that, people have said, well, we need the illegal Mexicans to pick our strawberries. Like, you are a racist asshole. That is demeaning to anyone. If I was a Mexican American and someone told me that, I'd deck you. Like, that's crap too, right? Based on someone's disposition or their disadvantage, we treat them a certain way. That's a no-no. That's unrighteous. That's impious, right? right? But again, I'm the kind of God that I accept all and everybody who repents. And I mean that. So that's why I like to end my videos with that salvation, that, you know, even if, and this goes out to extreme Islamic terrorists, like, you guys have an opportunity to lay down your arms, pick up the 10 commandments, know my name, and say, you know what? I see the writing on the wall. Because so saith I, God, Yahweh-Yahuwah. Whatever God they worship other than Satan, there is no life after that. You guys are blowing yourselves up, and there's nothing after that. If quite you want the literal truth, what is left behind when you guys explode yourself or you guys are doing terrorist activities, I don't even look at your faces. I hide my face from you, and I have Az take you downstairs, and I never know your name. You never see anything. And 72 virgins, like, if I am a God of holy matrimony and a man with a woman and an exclusive monogamous relationship under all circumstances except those that are hand dealt by me for particular reasons, such as the case with Abraham and Sarah and, you know, Isaac and Ishmael. Those are for my own purposes and reasons. You guys understand throughout the literature. But what I mean is, for 99% of the world, you already have a predestined mate. You do. So if you're walking on the path that is green light, and that's another thing. People are like, well, so God might just your robot. Not at all. Not at all. What it is let's say I've created a being and they've got, right, service in their heart. I said this with an example of a nursing student. But let's say that, you know, I've created this individual with these things in their heart, right? They have a draw to the medical field. They have a draw to children. They have a proclivity to act and behave this way. When they're doing those things, they feel alive. They feel that they're in purpose. And when a human is in purpose, they're thriving. You can see it in their eyes. You can see it in their physical health. You can see it manifested in their lifestyle. That's what I mean. But it's when that person is kicked down by the beast and they're taken off purpose and they're told, no, you can't go to nursing school because you can't afford it, or you can't do this because you screwed up in high school, or you have all these external factors telling that human being and their God that, well, the beast is bigger than your God and you, ma'am, so you're not getting to be the nurse. You're going to go work at Wendy's. Now that nurse is so far away from her purpose that she works at a place that she can't make any connection with. She's so far out of purpose. So guess what? A lot of times they do. They turn to drugs. They turn to alcohol. They turn to loving people that are not in their pathway. And now, instead of having a life-saving nurse, right, with healing hands that, you know, boom, like, she's meant to save 100,000 lives and have 4 beautiful children and have a wonderful marriage, and then when she moves from this life to the next one, she's actually going to be waiting on for her husband. Then her husband's going to arrive, and then her children, and then guess what? I'm going to wake them all up at the exact same time in heaven, so they're all together, so no one's missing anyone. That's the kind of God I am. And then they're going to have chapter 2 of their life even better, an even bigger purpose. That's what I mean. There is no negativity when it comes to walking in purpose with me, with your God, with your Elohim, Yahweh, Yahuwah, right? Joshua, Yeshua. See, my spirit, right? Yahweh-Yahuwah. My flesh, Joshua, Yeshua. It's not hard. But, all right, 1 hour and 40 is pushing my time here. So I'm sure I have a lot more I could ramble on about, but probably not a whole lot that want to hear me ramble on more. So with that, hope everyone has a good Ash Wednesday. Again, the Catholics are kind of at the bottom of my list, and you guys are going to have to make a lot of changes right before we're accepted into, you know, moving forward. But alrighty, have a good rest of your day. Bye.